Hello, I'm Pika, and welcome to our first video for Splatoon 3. I can't believe the game is really finally here, and I'm so excited. Sure, as you know with me, I just want to get straight into that educational content and those guides, so I'm just go right into it. It's something I've been knowing I wanted to do, because I have so much experience with the class. I want to talk about all the sloshers in Splatoon 3 that we have so far in Season 1. We have one kit per one, all of them came back from Splatoon 2. I want to talk about all of them, their playstyles, I think what their strengths, and how they might develop over the course of the game. Just everything you need to know about how to play them. But yeah, I don't want to waste any time, so let's just hop right into it. The first slosher I want to talk about is, well, the default slosher. This thing comes with Splat Bomb and Triple Link Strike. As a main weapon, slosher has pretty decent range, decent chip damage and paint, and just a very good ability to overall move opponents and deal damage to them and rally them around for your teammates to clean them up or for yourself to kill them later. And this kit only helps to send this playstyle further. With a Splat Bomb, you have a fast acting bomb that can again deal more damage, combo well with your main weapon to do 30 damage plus heavy damage kill combos, and just force people out of space. And again with your special Triple Link Strike, you're just doing more of the same. Whenever you pop Triple Link Strike, you can send out 3 missiles that clear out space, deal damage, and move people around. This entire kit's just great for that. It has nice damage combos with both itself and teammates potentially if you build the right comp around it, and the overall hitboxes and paint it can throw out at solid range just lets you have a lot of options on how to control your opponent's movement and keep them from hiding behind cover. It's a very well-rounded slosher, and it can be good in just about any situation. So if you're looking for a nice introduction to the class, or a weapon that can just work well in a lot of different situations, Vanilla Slosher is probably just the option for you. The next weapon I want to talk about is the sloshing machine, which is honestly very similar to the slosher we just talked about. Again, your main weapon is very good at poking at medium range, doing good chip damage, hitting people around cover just like sloshers are, and you also have a bomb, and again a special that's great at moving opponents out of the space. If we compare it to Slosher, the machine has a little bit better paint, and a little bit more range, but slightly lower fire rate than the Slosher. With Fizzy Bomb, unlike Splat Bomb, you have to charge it up, but in exchange for that, it's a little bit more ink efficient, puts down more paint, and has more hitboxes, which means it lasts longer in an area. It applies pressure to that area for longer. And again, with Booyah Bomb, unlike Triple Link Strike, you have to charge it up, but once you do, you get this longer lasting, larger, more thorough hitbox. And honestly, I think this is the theme of Machine. Again, its strengths are very similar to that of Slosher. You have a whole lot of options to hit people behind cover, combo chip damage with yourself between your Fizzy Bomb and your machine to secure kills or help your teammates get kills. You can push people out of spaces with a lot of your hitboxes as well. It has a lot of ability to control space and put paint down, put chip damage down. There's just so much it can do, but it's just a little bit harder to play because you have to be a little bit more calculated. Your Fizzy Bombs won't come out quite as fast as your Splat Bombs, your Booyah Bomb is a little bit more risky to pop than Triple Link Strike because you have to charge it up, and your main weapon is a little bit slower and lacks the ability to flick slosh compared to Vanilla Slosher, making it feel a little bit more fragile up close if you're not careful. But overall, if you're patient, and if you learn this weapon, you're a little bit more calculated, this thing will have incredibly powerful peaks and be very flexible. I am very excited for Sloshing Machine, and it's definitely something I'm going to use in competitive play a whole lot. Next up is the trislosher. Now, when a lot of people first saw this kit, I heard a whole bunch of groaning, and honestly, I don't really get it. People miss having a bomb on trislosher, and while I sort of understand it, it is nice to have that tool to help chip damage with yourself and have painting options from a far range. I think Toxic Mist is just incredible on this weapon. The main weaknesses of trislosher is its range, and again, that is sort of unfortunate without having a bomb, but we'll get to that in a second. Overall, trislosher is incredibly dominant up close, it paints pretty well, it has thorough, fast-acting hitboxes. Anything that gets super close to you is basically going to die no matter what, and having Toxic Mist only helps with that. With Mist, you can trap people if they get too close, make it to where they can't move, and you just close the distance on them and kill them, or if they're running at you, just make it to where they can't run away or they can't change their mind. And that's even stronger with Squid Roll in this game, because whenever you're in Toxic Mist, you can't move fast enough to actually build the speed necessary to execute a Squid Roll, so being in Mist really restricts your movement. That's something trislosher can abuse a lot. Additionally, Mist is still a pretty cheap sub-weapon, it lasts a long time, and one of Tri's main issues because of its range is dealing with long-range open environments. With Mist, you can throw one down in the middle of it and split that space, making it hard for opponents to rush at you or run away from you. You basically limit the space it's something a lot less than what it originally was. And again, for trislosher, that means it can keep people with more range away from itself, it can trap people who get overextended to make sure they can't escape the hitboxes and the fast fire rate, the fast kill time. It's really flexible. And additionally, now to talk more about the range issue, as a special, Trislosher has Inkjet. And Inkjet is such a cool special for this weapon to have because it basically switches your momentum and your effective range entirely. Again, like I've been saying, Trislosher everyone knows is so strong up close but lacks that long range pressure and painting power, especially again without a bomb. But that's where Inkjet comes in. Inkjet has insanely long range, a bunch of explosions, good paint power. It's actually most effective at long range because it's harder for you to die compared to someone being super up close to you. So Trislosher, plus Mist especially, controls close range very well, can slow people down a lot, and then Inkjet, whenever you pop your special, suddenly switches that on a dime. You have good painting power, you have insanely long range, still good kill power, So you just switch between being dominant up close and dominant super long range with your main weapon, sub weapon, compared to popping your special, which makes this weapon really flexible and really fun as well. I think this weapon will be really strong into some of the early metas we're going to see, because people are already expecting to see a lot of end zaps, popping tactic coolers, and forcing a very fast, aggressive meta. Trislosher already, because of the way it works, is so good at punishing people for being too aggressive. And again, with Mist, your ability to slow people down, your ability to trap people, to control space for such a long time, Trislosher could be a very valuable asset in controlling those overly aggressive teams. Anyway, now, up next is bloblobber, and this is one for people who follow me on Twitter, probably know I have pretty mixed feelings on. I'm sure people also know I like branding myself around bloblobber as one of my favorite weapons in Splatoon 2 and something I made a lot of content about. And this kit, at least for me, is not my favorite, but I do see what they're going for. For me in Splatoon 2, what made bloblobber so fun was that the vanilla variant had Splash Wall, which lets you be a lot more aggressive and risky, because the main weapon itself can be rather fragile, but Splash Wall obviously is a very good defensive tool to fall back on. And for Blob Deco, you had Suction Bomb Rush, which is just one of the best specials in the game on basically every front, so being able to spam that was so powerful. Bloblobber in this game has Sprinkler and Inkstorm. In my opinion, the weaker elements of each of the two kits from Splatoon 2. Sprinkler sure can be a nice movement option and a decent painting tool, but it won't really help you too much up close, very consistently at least. And Inkstorm has a nice chip damage combo, good paint output, but again, this isn't really going to change the tides of battle too much. I don't really want to say this blob kit is bad, but at least in a very aggressive, competitive, high-level environment, I don't really see exactly what it's doing to win games, to keep itself alive, and to keep up with the fast-paced momentum and pacing of games. But what I do see in this, and what I realistically think is the reason why they made this kit, is that Sprinkler is pretty easy to throw out, it's cheap, it puts a lot of paint down, and Inkstorm's the same thing. It's easy to throw out, it puts a lot of paint down, gets some damage out there, very simple to use. Overall, especially paired with the main weapon, which again just throws chaotic hitboxes out everywhere, puts a bit of damage every now and then, puts out a whole lot of paint, this entire kit is just easy to use, gets a lot of passive paint, is probably exactly what they were going for. Especially early on into the game's life, having some weapons that are oriented towards more casual, lower level players, and also that turf war environment is very important. If you're a turf war enjoyer, or honestly even just a more casual player in general, this weapon probably won't feel that bad to you. It puts a lot of hitboxes out, it's very easy to use, and you're just going to get a lot of paint no matter what. It's going to be hard to not get high paint counts with this, honestly. Again, in a more competitive environment in ranked modes, it's going to feel fragile, it's going to get overwhelmed, but this weapon as an option in turf war, especially again more low level, is going to feel fine. People are going to win games with it, it's going to feel fun, it's going to get value, and that's perfectly okay. To the people who want to use this weapon like that and have fun with it, more power to you. I'll be sitting here patiently waiting for Blob Deco, which I have faith will be a bit more competitively oriented. But until then, again, those who like this blob, go for it. Personally, I don't think I'm going to try to push it because I don't think it meshes with how I want to play or the level that I want to play at. But I see why it exists, and it is honestly best to have a blob like that be the first one to have it be available so early on to everyone. And finally, we have our last slosher in Season 1 at least, the explosior. And this is a weapon I was honestly very pleasantly surprised by. Explosior in this game comes with Point Sensor and Inkstorm. Point Sensor was something that was on the custom kit in Splatoon 2, and it was very nice. A lot of people agreed that it's the strongest point sensor weapon in the game, honestly, because the ability to see people through walls is so helpful for a weapon that has amazing chip damage and can shoot over a lot of objects. Additionally, you don't really feel the lack of a bomb with Explosior because your main weapon basically acts like a bomb, so you're really not missing out on much. You know, what's really interesting is Inkstorm. For the few Explosior players out there, their reactions seem kind of mixed towards this one, but honestly I think it's really strong. Again, kind of like with bloblobber, what makes Inkstorm pretty nice is that it's just a lot of chip damage, it's a lot of paint, and it's also just fast to use. With Explosior especially though, the ability to easily deal damage over a large area, and honestly even more importantly, keep opponents from regenning their health, is really a big deal. Explosior hits people very slowly, but can theoretically kill in 3 indirect shots. It can even deal 90 damage if you hit a direct shot and the explosion underneath them. To only have to deal 10 damage with Inkstorm is pretty easy, and even then if you're killing people slowly with only your explosions, it becomes a lot easier to do when they can't regen between your shots. The other very nice thing is that Explosior is very ink hungry, so being able to quickly throw out a special means you get a very fast refill to your ink tank as well. Because for those who don't know, anytime you use a special, no matter which one it is, your ink tank is automatically refilled no matter what. So for Explosior, you can keep shooting, use all your ink tank, throw out your Inkstorm that you just built with all that paint, and then just keep shooting immediately again. You don't have to sit down and regen your ink, you don't have to wait, you just keep shooting, you have a full tank once again. With both the chip damage and paint from the Inkstorm itself and the ability to refill your ink, you can make Explosior be very persistent in this game, which seems pretty strong. Also, like I was saying with trislosher, the ability to keep people from doing their squid rolls and special movement in this game is pretty powerful, and with trislosher you did that with Toxic Mist, with Explo you do that with just painting your enemy's feet. One thing that Explo has always been known for for is its ability to just trap people with paint, because whenever you shoot at them, there's a giant explosion on them, it paints everything around them. It's hard to paint your feet and get out again once you've started getting trapped by explosior. And again, especially, not only is that already good as it is, but there's no ink armor in this game, which means you can kill people and threaten more damage even more easily. And again, squid roll, when you paint under their feet, you can make it to where your opponent can't use that, so then they're limited with even more options compared to what they used to have. Expo is still going to be pretty hard to use, and it's probably still going to feel pretty fragile when someone tries to push you, especially without having a super defensive special like they did in Splatoon 2. But still, I think in the right hands and the right situation, this weapon could be very powerful, especially in team comps built around chip damage that need a lot of paint support. And there you have it, all my first impressions based on a few hours of gameplay with each slosher so far in Splatoon 3. Again, this game's just been incredibly fun so far, and I'm happy to share my thoughts and stuff like this through guides so early on into a game's life this time around. With that said, I already have a whole bunch of ideas for more kind of guides I can make over the coming months and years even about this game. Very happy to keep pursuing this kind of content. I feel like I really found a niche I'm happy with, and I'm happy to keep exploring and expanding it through Splatoon 3. So if you liked what you see, or more of my content from the past, you already know there's going to be more of that coming up. So if you enjoy it, feel free to sub, there'll be plenty more like this coming your way. It might be a little while because I am rather busy with college, but I'm definitely going to be making time for content with how much I'm going to be playing this game and how much just, again, I enjoy making these things. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time with whatever I bring you next. Have a good one.